Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of our Spring Success live stream series. So today we are going to be focusing on advising and registration. So we have 2 of our advising experts here with us to go over some different advising resources, how to sign up for your spring courses, all things advising. So just go ahead and introduce our 2 panelists today. So we have Dr. Lucas Noboa, a Director of Academic Advising in the College of Nursing. And we have Dylan Castillo, Academic Advisor in the Knights Major Exploration and Transition Center, also shortened to be called the KMETC. So thank you both for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before I turn it over to both of you to give an overview of advising or your different areas, I just want to highlight a few key registration dates. That's one important date that's coming up soon, and then our advisors can touch on this information as well. So starting this coming Monday, October 19th, your enrollment appointment date and time will be available on your MyUCF portal for spring 2021. So this appointment date and time will be the earliest point that you will be able to begin to register for your spring courses. So we recommend using the My Course Builder or My Schedule Builder to assist in schedule creation. You can also check your MyUCF account for any holds that you may have that might hinder registration. So now is a good time to do that. We also recommend meeting with your academic advisor to ensure you stay on track. That is what they're here for. So I will start by handing it over to Dylan. So Dylan, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my presentation here. I have a small presentation kind of just to introduce some of the information we'll be covering. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Knights Major Exploration Transition Center. This is an office that exists primarily for our students who are undeclared, undecided, looking to change majors. And of course, Lucas can talk a little bit more about the advising as well, and maybe some about his area. But in particular, the Knights Major Exploration Transition Center, as I'd mentioned, we serve all new students who are coming in as undeclared in an undeclared designation. So if you came in as undeclared over the summer, you might remember myself or at least our office. We work with current students, those who are within the major exploration process. So students who are in a major, let's say that you're in engineering, you're in a health major, maybe nursing or something, and you're kind of undecided about that, you can come talk to us and we can help show you other majors you may be interested in. We also work with students who are readmitted to the university. I don't think there's anybody like that in the office on the viewing center today. And also students who are redirected from majors, which is those who are going towards limited access programs like nursing, restricted access programs like engineering, and maybe didn't meet requirements for whatever reason. And have no place to go. We would be that home stop for that. So that's a little bit about what we do in our office there. But beyond, of course, major exploration for the major exploration program, we do general advising for our students. So for those of you who are undeclared and that are assigned to our office, you may have noticed that you have a hold on your account. If you're not sure if you have a hold on your account, I would highly recommend that you take some time to look to see if there is. And for those of you that even have declared majors, you may want to take a moment to do just that. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, because certain holds can prevent you from being able to register. But nonetheless, if you're meeting with the KMETC, if you're undecided, if you're thinking about changing your major, especially if you're undeclared within our population, we can do some one-on-one advising that includes course planning, helping you determine registration, going over UCF policies, procedures, and then, of course, helping you connect with different offices on campus. If you're thinking about different majors, who to talk to. If you're thinking about exploring certain resources, like if you're thinking about, let's say, going into med school or what it might be, who would you talk to about that, for example? And of course, we do some different programming events where one of those is where we're speaking here in front of you. But one in a little bit that I do want to remind everybody about, as Hayden had mentioned, where Monday is when students will be able to see when they're able to enroll. Upcoming is the withdrawal deadline. So I'll talk about that in a moment in relation to one of our events, which is a workshop coming up here in a moment, or not in a moment, that I'm going to be talking about here in a moment. That's coming up actually within the next 2 weeks. So in particular, one event that we did this year that we unveiled virtually for the first time was the UCF Majors Fair. While it's already passed this fall semester on October 7th, we are planning to hold it again into the spring semester. We don't have too many details on when exactly that will be, but more than likely February would probably be the time frame. And if we're in person, we might be doing it in person, or we might be doing it virtual again. So just stay tuned for that. But be aware that if you're undecided, or let's say you go through your first semester and you're still kind of in that phase, that fence, feel free to check us out. Even if you haven't decided major and you want to connect with your office, you can do so there. But as I had mentioned, one of the important deadlines that are coming up, in addition to the enrollment dates that will become available to view in your MyUCF October 19th, is the withdrawal deadline. So for those of you, make note of withdrawal deadline. That's going to be October 30th by 11:59. So that's on a Friday at the end of this month. We're going to be holding 2 workshops virtually for our students on October 21st and October 27th. The October 21st one being between 1 and 2, the October 27th one being between 3 and 4. But the name of the workshop, like I said, where it's going to focus on withdrawing, is titled, What Does a W Really Mean? So we go into detail on what does a withdrawal exactly mean as far as your academics. How could that impact things like such as financial aid? Is it something that may even be necessary depending on where you're standing? So it's a great overview for those of you that are considering withdrawing or just want to know information about how withdrawal works. So once again, we're holding those 2 October 21st and October 27th, with the October 21st date, I believe that's on a Tuesday from 1 to 2, and the 27th being 3 to 4 there. If you have any questions about that, as you may notice at the bottom of the screen, we have our office email. Feel free to reach out to that directly. But we also have an outreach email for our events, which is kmetcoutreach@ucf.edu. So don't hesitate to let us know if you have any questions regarding that. And especially if you can't make it, maybe you want to meet with an advisor, we can refer you to somebody to speak with to get more information there. So I want to touch base on some quick resources that can be useful, especially as you're considering schedule planning, as we're talking about policies and procedures. First and foremost, everything that we're covering as it relates to policies, procedures, can be found in the UCF catalog, including information about your particular majors, minors, certificate programs, courses that are required for them, even class descriptions. The catalog is available for all students. You would access it by going to catalog.ucf.edu. Or if you're like myself and don't always memorize URLs, you can always Google UCF catalog, and that tends to be the first thing that comes up. But make sure that you're selecting the 20 and 21 academic year. But once again, a lot of great information can be found in the catalog there. Also, we want to point students to the Student Success and Advising website, mainly because there are a number of great resources and guides for students, including directory information for the different college advising offices that we have here on campus. So if you have a declared major, you can check out to see where they're located, how to contact them, all in one spot. If you're thinking about exploring majors, want to talk with a particular college, you can access that there. But additionally, they provide other information such as guides, how-tos, how to declare a major, maybe how to change it, how to find your GPA, how to calculate your GPA, how to find the enrollment date, and so on. So I did share that information with Hayden beforehand, and she'll kindly put that up into the chat later on. So that way everybody has access to these URLs I'm mentioning here. So the Academic Success website is a great website that provides some guides on the things that we're talking about for here today. And of course, for those of you that want to know a little bit more about our office, we have, of course, our website, the KMETC website. But additionally, we also have a resources page that focuses on some bits of information as it relates towards self-exploration, major exploration, some career exploration, and so on. Some tools that you may want to get a hold of if you're thinking about changing your major, or if you're kind of on the fence about that. But nonetheless, these are some great resources to hold on to kind of keep in mind moving forward. So speaking of colleges, take a moment to look at this list here and reflect. Do you know who your college is? Do you know where your major belongs? If you're not quite sure, you can feel free to reach out to any of us here at the panel. Of course, we have the KMETC website where it's available, and at the bottom on the previous page, as I had mentioned, the Student Success and Advising website, where it has a list of the colleges and their contact information. But nonetheless, we want you to start thinking about that, and if you haven't thought about registration already, now's the time to do so. As we had mentioned, enrollment dates and deadlines, or enrollment appointment times, are going to be coming up here pretty soon. So make sure that you're talking with your advisors early to get that schedule planning. I will say that the university is literally over 60,000 students large. With that in mind, that's a lot of people to serve within a small time frame. So if you haven't made an appointment with an advisor yet this semester, now is the time to do so. Do it before course registration begins. Once again, we don't want things to fill up. As you're thinking about schedule planning, you come to us late, You can't get the courses that you need because you've waited too long. So make sure you know who your academic college is, who you're advising, who your major is, who your advisors are. And for those of you that don't have a college, if you're undeclared, you would actually reach out to us, the KMETC. We can help you with, of course, as I mentioned earlier, schedule planning, letting you know enrollment dates, and everything else that you might need. So once again, contacting the advisor. This link is going to be shared with you all in a little bit. The list of the different college advising offices are there. And as I had mentioned at the bottom of the screen where the contact information is listed, I also put it right here in the slide as well. So our phone number is 407-823-3165. You can email us directly at kmetc@ucf.edu. So once again, we advise undeclared students, those who are undecided, exploring majors, and so on. But if you do have a declared major, you would meet with your respective college. So just keep that in mind there. So a couple of things, and we'll go in more in the detail about this, both myself and Lucas here, but just some things to keep in mind as we're planning things out for the spring semester and beyond. First and foremost, I cannot stress it enough, you're going to hear me say it multiple times, connect with your advisor. It is very important. By connecting with your advisor, you can avoid any unforeseen, unnecessary deviations to graduation, any potential issues that you may not have been known that would exist, helping you with, of course, making sure that you're taking appropriate coursework, helping you with determining what are the appropriate classes to be taking, what is a good balance, what is a good mix of things, do you have any gen eds remaining, should you be starting on major prerequisites, and so on. And of course, helping you build a balanced schedule as well. I do want to take a moment to remind everybody that there are maximums to how many courses you can take in a semester. In particular, there's a maximum in the number of credit hours that you can take. So be aware that for spring, for both fall and spring, 17 hours is the max you can take, while over summers, 14 credit hours is the max you can take there. But by no means are we recommending or encouraging you to take the maximum credit hours, but we're just letting you know that these limits do exist. For the most part, most students are going to try to be full-time. So be aware that full-time is taking at least 12 credit hours. If you're taking 4 courses typically, where the majority of them are 3 credit hours apiece, you'll usually hit that full-time status. But 12 to 15 hours is a good balance, a good recommendations. And depending on your major, you might need to do a little bit more than the 12. But if you're enrolled in 11 hours or less, be aware that's considered part-time. Nothing wrong with being part-time, but be aware that if you're part-time, that could have potential impacts towards graduation. It could have potential impacts for things like financial aid, if you're part of any clubs, organizations, and in some cases, potentially housing, depending on how many hours you fall beneath. So just some things to keep in mind as you're meeting with an advisor and doing your schedule planning. So I'm going to leave it with a couple of tips here with this presentation before we actually start talking to you a little bit more one-on-one. But we want to remind students to set realistic and attainable goals, making sure that what we're planning together makes sense, making sure that what we're looking to do in the long run makes sense. Developing plans of actions, that is critical in being successful. And not just developing these plans, but also making sure that you're sharing them with family, friends, even your advisors. Establish strong working relationships, not just with your faculty, with your professors, but even with your academic advisors as well. We are very much a key piece to your overall education. And for the most part, while you might not meet with somebody like me in the KMETC Center for all that long, somebody like Lucas, who is who works for the College of Nursing, you might be speaking with him and his team throughout the rest of your 4 years. Get to know them. These are individuals that can vouch for you, that can provide letters of recommendations, that can provide guidance, and really just to have a personal connection with your university. But above all, if there's anything that I really want to stress outside of what you're doing in the classroom is get involved. Getting involved is critical towards getting into the next step of what you want to do beyond graduation. It can lead towards things like getting extra experience, helping you uncover, explore a little bit if that's something you actually do want to pursue a particular area. So getting involved with clubs, organizations, getting involved with, of course, workshops that we have on campus, much like this, job shadowing, internships, all the above. What you're doing in your classes is literally a fraction of what you should be doing as a student. So there's nothing more important that I can recommend other than get involved. So feel free to ask questions to us and we can talk about some of those ways. But ideally, make sure you're connecting with us at least once a semester, connecting with your advisor at least once a semester, and any more needed as you move about. So I'll kind of stop talking there. You can feel free to ask questions. Contact information's at the bottom. But of course, I want to give a moment here to my colleague Lucas, who can kind of talk about his area a little bit and of course share some tips as well, and then we can really have a discussion here.
Yeah, Dylan, that was quite insightful. Even for myself, serving as a director of an advising office, it's always good to get a reminder and a refresher on some of those key points that you pointed out, and I think they're very beneficial. I was even taking some notes regarding some of the things that we have a very similar PowerPoint. I may have to poach some of those things. Here in our office, and there's obviously a number of colleges throughout throughout the university. We begin working with students from the time they're prospective students still. I would just right before this appointment, I had an academic advising appointment with a prospective student in high school who's looking to get ready for UCF. So when you first came to this institution, I know you're all students here at UCF, you would have met with your college during that first day of orientation. And it's likely that you met with an academic advisor who helped schedule plan with you, helped advise you on what classes you needed to take, and helped you prepare for your fall semester if you're a first time in college freshman student coming in. Now that you all, or some of you maybe in your first semester here at UCF, and like Hayden and Dylan have said, you'll have registration dates for the spring semester here in a week or so, and on the 19th. I keep looking back on my calendar, but it's coming up very quickly. It's very important that you reconnect with those advisors to not only see and tell and share how the fall semester is going, but also how your spring semester is going to look. I wrote down here a couple of things. Making sure that you have credit, your AP credit, your Dante's, your CLEP, all of your college credit is in and submitted to undergraduate admissions. If you're a new student, is going to be critical because we only have the information that you all submit. So when we're advising you, we like to do a little bit of research prior to you coming to meet with us. And what we're pretty much doing is we're saying, okay, for their next schedule, I think they should take this, this, this. And by no means is that a set in stone schedule, you have to take it. But I meet with a lot of students who are pretty much saying, Lucas, can you just please tell me what classes I need to take? So it's very important that we have accurate information. Another thing is the holds that you may have on your account. One of them is probably going to be, it's a very popular one that prevents a lot of students from being able to register, is going to be an undergraduate admissions hold because they're waiting for some transcript or some form of documentation that's going to prevent, and it blocks registration. It's actually what it says on the back end. It will not allow you to register. So if you're looking on your My UCF and on your holds account on that right-hand side, and you see undergraduate admissions and you click on it and it says you have an incomplete file, right? You need to contact undergraduate admissions, or you need to check your My UCF and see what's missing, because come August or October 19th, like Dylan said, there's going to be over 60,000 students who are fighting for that same class that you want to, or in that specific time frame that you need to take class, or with that certain professor. So we have a lot of students who wait to the very end, and if there's not a section open, it can really alter your schedule. And for certain programs like nursing, there's not a lot of wiggle room. And some of you may be in majors that are very similar to that, where we have on our website, we have a 2-year roadmap, because nursing is your second 2 years. We essentially provide you a roadmap of your first 2 years. I would guarantee that a lot of colleges and also a lot of majors probably have something very similar, a roadmap for you to follow in your fall of your freshman year, in your spring of your freshman year, in that summer, in the fall, in the spring. They have a guideline on what courses they would suggest. And what we do is we essentially build out those suggestions, because we know when you should be taking those classes, because we know the prerequisite courses to those classes. Which brings up another point when I think about it, is peer advising. A lot of times, I know, I want to compare it to Rotten Tomatoes, but that's a movie. Rate My Professor. Yeah, I'm a little bit older. Rate My Professor. I have a lot of students who come on and say, the only class that's open, Rate My Professor has him as a not very good professor. I don't know what the ratings are. He's low. But sometimes peer advising is bad advising, because ultimately that could prevent you from graduating on time. If you don't take a class because your friend says, or a friend of a friend says, that class is kind of hard, right? That could prevent you from graduating on time. So what I recommend, and what Dylan and Hayden will tell you, is he screamed it. Meet with your advisor, right? Our goal, and ultimately what we're pretty much tracked on, our metric wise, is to make sure that we're able to retain you from your freshman year to your sophomore year. And ultimately, we want to graduate you in 4 years. Is that going to work for everybody? Absolutely not. Things happen. There's a pandemic. Things happen. It may be 5 years. It may be 6 years. But ultimately, we want to work with you on a one-on-one basis. And the only way for us to do that is for you to reach out to us. There are too many of you, and there's not enough of us. We can't sit there and chase you around. So we tried our best. Right now, what we're doing in the colleges, and I think KMETC is doing it as well, is what we're doing is we're doing a campaign through EAB or My Night Star. So if you got an email that says, hey, if you're a freshman that started in fall or summer, and you're a first-time freshman, you would have gotten an email recently that says, hey, please schedule an advising appointment with us, right? What we want to do is bring you in and check and see, how is your fall semester going? I know we're right around that midterm time, right? Are you prepared for midterm? Where are your grades at? Can we suffer? Are you going to be withdrawing from a class? Okay, if you're going to be withdrawing from that, obviously we need to be prepared, and it's a class you need. We need to make preparations for you to take that in a future term. So what we're doing is we're meeting with all those students one-on-one, and I kind of jotted down a couple of questions for Hayden. And what the questions that I get quite frequently is, how are advisors meeting with students right now? I'm the only person right now physically in the College of Nursing building. My door is wide open. I can yell. Nobody's going to hear me. It's kind of creepy because usually we have a handful of advisors here. Our advisors are all working through Zoom. We're holding academic advising appointments just like this, one-on-one with students. Everything's been switched remotely. I had a birthday with a nephew of mine earlier, and it was all done through Zoom. So get used to that. A lot of your classes are through Zoom. Get used to that formality. By no means do we prefer this type of interaction over face-to-face, but it's what's safest for you all. It's what's safest for us. Ultimately, we'll get past this. We'll get face-to-face, but that doesn't mean advising stops. Right? Every college has their own method of advising, but a lot of them are going through the My Night Star. I know here in the College of Nursing, we allow any student, any UCF student, to schedule an appointment with us. Like Dylan mentioned, he's working with undecided and undeclared students. We allow students who are engineering students. We allow students who are biology students. We allow them to schedule an academic advising appointment with a nursing advisor where we can sit there and say, okay, these are the courses you're bringing in. Some of these will count. Some of them aren't needed for nursing, right? And then we have those conversations, okay? We have conversations with juniors and seniors who are looking to make that swap, which is kind of a little late because they've already worked 75, 85% of the way towards one major and then want to switch. And then we've had those conversations with students who just started this fall who want to make the switch. So, but you can't have those conversations unless you approach them, unless you're being proactive. So in this sense, you kind of have to step out of your box, because ultimately you can't be hiding in your room. You can't be hiding in your dormitory or in your mom's house. You kind of have to step up and come out and say, hey, I need help. Maybe I don't like this major. I don't need this. But what we're trying to do is make sure that you're graduating in the shortest period of time by taking the only classes that are necessary for that degree. So it starts by making sure you have all of your transcripts in, including your dual enrollment, making sure that you have your test scores, so AP, your CLEP, IB, all of that stuff in. Because the last thing I want to see, and I wrote this down here, I have a student right now this fall who is taking a class that she already has taken. And I had an awkward conversation with her because she didn't meet with an advisor, and her response was kind of dumbfounded that she already had credit for that class. That's why we tell students to schedule an academic advising appointment every semester so that you don't end up taking classes that you've already taken. If you're in a class and you say, this kind of sounds familiar, please come have a conversation with us, because we want to make sure that you're getting out during the drop period and not having to withdraw, because it does have financial implications at this time. The Undergraduate Catalog, it's a great, great tool. Every major has a list of required courses, but something that I live and die by, and I also encourage my students to live and die by it, is going to be a couple of academic advising tools. One of them is Pegasus Path. The other one is going to be your My Night degree audit. Your My Night degree audit, towards the end of your journey here at UCF, you will file an intent to graduate. I'm reviewing the fall 2020 students right now. An intent to graduate is filed, and what we do is we review your degree audit that lists all the requirements for that program. It includes GPA, it includes prerequisite, it includes your GEPs, and we make sure that the degree audit is clean, like you all satisfied. If you're getting towards your final semester and there's a course that says not satisfied somewhere, there's an issue. That means your graduation is going to be delayed. I've had to deny a couple intent to graduates just this semester because a student forgot to take an elective. Okay, we want to make sure that ahead of time you understand what your options are, but that we have those discussions with you and make sure that you're taking the right classes at the right time. Because if you build a bunch of courses here and you don't have the prerequisites for them, you're going to be in trouble because we require prerequisite courses before you're able to move through the steps. So you want to make sure that you're able to look at the degree audit or your degree audit, as well as the undergraduate catalog that will show what the prerequisite courses are. Some courses don't have any. Some courses have 2 or 3. So you want to make sure that you're meeting with an academic advisor who knows those things. I'm not going to meet with an engineering student because I don't know the first engineering class, but I can guarantee you I do know every single course that's required for nursing because I'm a nursing advisor. So go to either your college. Some of the bigger colleges, nursing is one of the smaller ones. Some of the bigger ones include the College of Sciences, engineering. They have departmental advisors. So you may not have a college advisor, but you may have a department advisor who may be a faculty member. But either way, there's a professional advisor. We are called professional advisors that are there essentially to help you, and not only help you with the academic side of it, but we also want to make sure that I do a lot of counseling sessions. I think we all wear multiple hats, especially during this time of period, and it's more so in fields that are limited access. I've had a couple crying students in my office. I've had a couple angry parents in my office, and ultimately we're having those conversations with, hey, maybe this isn't the major for you, but here are other options. And I don't want, by no means am I telling you switch your major now. Don't change your major. But at the end of the day, if you're in a class that is a very good indicator to that major, maybe you're in intro to engineering and you're an engineering major and you're really not liking it. Maybe it's time to self-reflect. Maybe you meet up with Dylan in his office in KMET-C, take a couple self-assessments, see where you truly align. I find a lot of students in my college have a lot of pressure from family as well to major in something that maybe they don't have a lot of interest in. Maybe they've got an older brother, an older sister who studied nursing at UCF, so they have to. So they have to study. I'll call them back. So they have to study nursing at UCF. Don't feel that you have that pressure to continue on a legacy. Don't feel pressure because your friend is a certain major that you have to be that major, because we have different offices here on campus to help you, and that extends beyond the academic advising office. There's tons of resources on campus, but we're talking more about academics. But don't be afraid to have those conversations with your academic advisors. Pretty persistent. Hold on. I'm so sorry about that. I'm popular even close to 5 o'clock on right here. But yeah, and then we work with students throughout their careers and even helping them post-graduation. Like Dylan said, writing letters of recommendation. We've got graduate programs here at UCF, so you want to have that good relationship with an academic advisor. I was reading a journal article the other day that stated academic advisors are the closest thing to a personal relationship that a student will have on campus. A professional relationship. You may be in a class of 500 with one professor. You're probably not going to have a very good relationship with that. All of our appointments are one-on-one. All of them are closed doors. All of them, we have certain rules where we're not going to discuss any of that stuff. But you just have to initiate that conversation, because ultimately, unless I log into your web courses or check your email to see how you're doing in that class, I'm not going to know that you're struggling in that class. So come in, meet with an advisor. I promise we won't bite your head off. There are more of us now. I promise we've done the university has a big push to support academic advisors. We've hired a ton more academic advisors that are in colleges. So our head count has gone down to more of the normal range. You see UCF and you see, oh my gosh, we're so big. but we're down to a level that's manageable for academic advisors. So we're able to kind of spread our arms and touch more students, whereas it used to be 1 to 500, now it's 1 to 200 or so. So it's a lot smaller. So don't think that you're just a number at UCF. Don't think that you're one of a million students and nobody knows. We know about you. We're tracking you. We're trying to reach out to you. Check your emails, please. Your Knight's email. We do that. So we want to connect with you. But at the end of the day, we need some feedback from you as well as to what you're struggling for. And that's why we hold these live webinars, so that students can come on and tell us what you need help with, so that we have a better understanding from the academic advising side and the advisors and housing and all these different support resources that are here. So that's a little bit of my spiel.
Awesome spiel from both of you. Thank you so much. And as you guys are speaking, it's just such a good reminder that it might seem intimidating to set up an appointment with someone you don't know or you maybe have never met, but these are two real life advisors. They're real professionals. They're kind people. They're here to help. That is their job, to help advise. So, and you both are proof of that. So we do have a question, and I just want to encourage anyone that is watching, if you have any questions, go ahead and add them in our comments here. So, we've talked about setting up those appointments. How do you go about setting up an appointment with your advisor? How do you know how to find them, who they are, and how to make the appointment?
Question. And Dylan, I can take this one if you don't mind. Casey, thank you for the question.
Yeah, sure.
In your My UCF, you have a little tab. It's going to say My Night Star. If you click on My Night Star, you can actually go in there and you should be assigned an academic advisor in your college. Okay, now every college does it a little bit differently. Here in the College of Nursing, we have 4 professional advisors, and what we did, we split it up by alphabetical name. So some of us have A through D, and then D through, but depending on your college, you'll have an assigned advisor, and you'll also have the ability to schedule an appointment with that advisor based on mutual availability. Okay. Now, another way to find out how your college is doing that is to go to the resource that Dylan provided, the link. If you go on there, each college has their own website. And on that website, it'll have either how to schedule an academic advising appointment, or meet your academic advising team, or here's our academic advisors. It would be something that shouts out to you. And somewhere on that website, there will be instructions. Here on our website, we have the actual instructions step by step. And I know the College of Arts and Humanities has those because I stole them from them. I copied and pasted, and we stole that so it mirrored. So if you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, I know exactly how you do it. But yeah, you go into your My Night Star, you select your advisor, schedule an appointment, the location, it may have a little description of what the appointment is about. We just have general advising, but some of them have, this is about probation, this is about graduation, this is about readmission. You can schedule what your appointment's about, and you can even include a few notes. I'm meeting about my spring 21 schedule, and what that does is it books an appointment with that advisor. It'll populate on the advisor's calendar, and then leading up to the appointment, it will send you text message reminders as well as an email reminder that you have a scheduled academic advising appointment with that individual. So I hope that helps.
Very helpful. Thank you. So all those reminders, no reason not to miss it there. Dylan, I'm sorry. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, definitely. So that's definitely, I want to echo some of what Lucas is saying there. So that's every college does have a little bit of a different way in how you can contact them. But as pointed out, that link that I had shared with everybody, that we'll be sharing again here in a moment, that has the direct contact information for each individual college. That includes their location, their phone number, their email. So that's definitely a place you can start. Another place too, beyond the My Night Star, if you log into your My UCF, you're in the Student Center page, the same spot where you can see your holds on the right-hand side of the page, there is a spot at the very bottom where it shows your program advisor, and it should either have the college advisor or a specific advisor assigned to you. If you happen to be a student who's a part of the KMETC, part of the Knight's Major Exploration Transition Center, and you're assigned to me, you'll actually see my name there, and you can click on that for further information on how to get a hold of myself. So, as Lucas pointed out, you can go through the My Night Star. It's in your My UCF. We have it up on our website. In fact, all of you, as Lucas pointed out, where the colleges are running different campaigns, our office is actually going to be doing something pretty, I think, starting next week is when we're going to be starting our campaigns. Check your Knight's email. You may have already been reached out to by your academic advisor. In fact, your Knight's email is the official mode of communication between the university and you as a student. So do keep that in mind. But if you're looking to contact us, feel free, of course, to check out our website, to go ahead and, of course, call any numbers that you see listed there for the different advising contacts. As Lucas pointed out, we're not going to bite. We're not going to do anything crazy like that. In fact, we do want to see you. That is the sole reason why we are here. That is for you as the student.
I think one thing, I used to work in athletics. I was telling Hayden this earlier. One thing was, when I was an academic advisor for student athletes here at UCF, one of the first things I told my students was to download the Outlook app on your phone and include your Knight's email. That's going to link up to web courses. When we pull your name, we don't pull your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or your iCloud account or your me.com. It's going to pull your Knight's email, right? I use my UCF email. You should use your Knight's. Think of it as a business, right? UCF is a business organization. We want to be in sync. So the easiest way to do it is to load and input your Knight's email, and you can put your Gmail account and you can put your Yahoo account, but constantly check your Knight's email. I know they blast with a lot of stuff. I get it, but there's some stuff in there that's going to be truly important.
Yes.
And you don't want to delete it. There's going to be, the last thing you want to do is show up when there's a hurricane and we've closed the university and you got that email, right? So check them. I know that there's a lot of stuff coming through. The bookstore emails me probably like 17 times a day. I get it. But when you see something from an academic advisor or from a professor, or you just glance at it, read it, put it at its face value. If it's something that's important to you, read it. If it's the bookstore having a 20% off sale, you may not have to read all of that. But yeah, we want to make sure that we're using the Knight's email account because it's our mode of communication. And like Dylan said, a lot of your academic advisors are very easy to find. Most of us, and not all of us, because sometimes you can create your own email address. It's going to be simply our first name dot our last name at UCF. And if you're emailing any advisor in the college, they're not going to turn you away. They're not going to we may direct you to the correct person, or we could even direct you to the right college. If somebody emails me and said, hey, can I schedule an appointment? And it turns out that you're an engineering student, I will direct you to the right department. I'm not going to just delete. I don't know that student. So don't feel afraid to email the wrong person. We're here to help you, but we want to make sure that we get you in the right classes at the right time. And it goes back to making sure that you're taking care of your holds. I can't stress enough how many times students got a full shopping cart with the perfect schedule. I got no Fridays. I got all afternoon classes. I can sleep in. They go to hit that enroll button and they've got an undergraduate admissions incomplete file transcript. That's the most annoying thing. So if you log on there, if you got a health hold or any kind of hold, and make sure that you're addressing it with that office, because I can't lift the park and hold. I can't pay your financial aid hold or your finance hold, or I can't submit your transcripts from high school for you. So make sure that you're going there, and then come to your advising office and say, hey, what can we enroll in? And we can do it together if you want, but we can't do that if you have academic holds, because that's going to prevent registration.
So I will say that we can still meet with you beforehand if you find that you do have hold and you haven't met with us, but you cannot register, just as Lucas has said, unless those holds are removed. I'm going to stress it just as much as Lucas is. It's very important to get those holds taken care of as soon as possible, especially those admissions holds, because it takes some time for them to clear. But I just want to point out really quick, I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat here. I can speak to what exactly the Pegasus Path is. So the Pegasus Path itself, it's a tool that we're primarily using. It's actually a brand new tool that we started implementing last year, and this year we've carried it further for that. For each individual college academic major, students have the ability to basically plot out their 4 years using the Pegasus plan. So it's a tool that kind of either it auto-generates, depending on the college, or the college advisors will actually take time to go through and build a future 4-year plan for the student through this tool called the Pegasus Path. I am logged into my UCF at the moment, so I can kind of, well, it won't show it from me, but I can show students kind of where the general space is. If you want to share my screen there for a quick second.
Sure, not adding it now.
So it's going to be listed right here. Ignore the holds that I have. I'm no longer a student, so they don't affect it as much. But where you see like search, plan, enroll, my academics, beneath that, there's going to be a button that says Pegasus Path. And if you click on that, that will bring up the tool, and it will kind of show what current classes that you're taking and what future classes would be ideal to take to graduate with a specific time frame. So the student does have the ability to adjust that as needed. In fact, we would encourage that you come in and talk with your advisor to make any adjustments for the Pegasus plan itself as well. So once again, that Pegasus Path, that's basically a tool to help kind of plan out the next 4 years and to kind of see ahead what the 4 years would look like. So it's an effective planning tool. Really quick, I do want to point this out as we're talking about holds. I'll use myself as an example here. This is where the holds would appear. Down here is if you have an advisor, that's where the advisor assignment would pop up. So I'm no longer in an undergraduate major, so I don't have an academic advisor at the moment. But for those of you that are enrolled here at UCF that are undergraduate students, you'll see somebody listed there. So that's where you can find that. But if you click on details for the holds, that's where you can take a look at a little bit more information about where they're coming from, the departments, when those holds were placed on. Ooh, I got to take care of that. Parking hasn't been that big of a concern since COVID hit. But if we click on, let's say, one of these, like the parking citation I have here, you get a little bit more information about the instructions and what you need to do to actually take care of that and who to contact. So there's a lot of great information that's listed in there in holds if you do have that. If it is a little bit vague, that's okay. Once again, it will contain contact information. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to those respective individuals to find out what you got to do to remove that hold. I know I kind of transitioned in the holds on that. Feel free to stop sharing. Oh, I can go ahead and stop sharing here.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So I know that I kind of transitioned the holds there, but did that answer your question, Karen, regarding the Pegasus Path?
But Dylan, I'll add one thing about the Pegasus Path, just because I had an email from a student just last night. Pegasus Path will also build your schedule based on when courses are available. For instance,
yes.
Here in the College of Nursing, we require human anatomy and human physiology. Well, a student asked me yesterday, will those courses be offered in summer? Well, in Pegasus Path, it wouldn't allow you to put human anatomy in summer or human physiology in summer because they're not taught in summer. So that's something else that you can find out in the Undergraduate Catalog. In the Undergraduate Catalog, it will list a short description of the course, and then it will also offer a brief note as to when the courses are offered. It's usually in italics. It'll say fall, spring, or it'll say summer. So you can get you can kind of build your own schedule in your head based on availability using the catalog. But the Pegasus Path will pretty much do it for you. If you try to put a course in summer and it's not offered in summer, it won't allow you to. So you can kind of build your class schedule. Same thing with the prereqs as well. It wouldn't allow you to take English 2 if you haven't taken English 1 yet. So it'll build it out there. But all the colleges did, and we submitted this to the office who builds them, pretty much a plan of study. Like, this is what we want students to do. So when they pull it up, they show them this, so they do this. But obviously, some students take a little bit longer time, so they elongate. Maybe they don't take it full-time enrollment, so they drop down. They take one class, and they can kind of build it around. But a lot of our appointments are with students, and we're kind of just going through the Pegasus Path. And what students do is they leave with a sense of relief, because they know that the rest of if they follow this plan that we just created, they're solid for the next 4 years. They're good to go. So they don't even have to come back in. Of course they come back in, but they don't based on their academic schedule. They know exactly what they're going to take, and they've had that approved by an advisor, not their roommate or their grandpa, but they've had it approved by a professional advisor in that college. So you can pretty much guarantee that if you follow that plan of study or that Pegasus Path, that you're on path to graduate on time.
So I will share that for students who are a part of the KMETC who are undeclared, there will not be a Pegasus Path available to them because you don't have a declared major. So if you're undeclared at the moment and you're not seeing that, that's absolutely fine. Or if you change to undeclared, that will kind of go away. But the moment that you do declare a major, it does become available. But if there's anything else I'm going to stress along with the Pegasus Path, as great of a tool as it does not replace advising. While it can help you with planning ahead, while it can help you with showing you what exactly you need in the long run, what's going to work out best, your academic advisor is really the one that's going to help you with navigating that plan and making sure that you don't hit any pitfalls outside of that. especially if you're running into issues like holds, running into issues with classes that you may have the potential withdrawal, that you have questions. We should definitely be that first stop. And if you're meeting with us at least once a semester, we can ensure and make sure that the Pegasus path is going smooth, that things are making sense. But if there's one thing I can stress, it does not replace advising there. Really quick, I do want to address Kate's question. It's a pretty simple one I can answer here. She asked if this will be recorded. Yes, we're actually recording it right now, including the view of my holds. That will be forever enshrined, but I'm going to take care of those here pretty soon eventually anyway, so not a big deal. But yeah.
Ticket forever, Dylan.
I know. Let me put it this way. Parking gets their money.
There you go. Thanks for pointing that out. So it will be recorded on the Housing Facebook page and the Housing YouTube channel. So feel free to share as necessary. If you're watching this, the YouTube link is probably a pretty easy share there. So looks like we have another question here. We've got time for a couple more if anyone else wants to add any other questions here. But how do you know which classes are required for your major? So we've talked a lot about classes. How do you know which ones you need to take?
Yeah, so I can go ahead and jump into this one here. Probably the number one place, as we had mentioned, even as Lucas had said, the thing that we all live and die by, that's the UCF catalog. So I can go ahead and share a link to the list of majors, actually, since that's one of the beauties of doing these things virtually, is that we can kind of share this stuff on the fly as we're talking about it and even kind of give some quick examples. But I'm going to go ahead and share the link here to the list of majors in the catalog for the current catalog here, mind you. Let's see. Hayden, should I go ahead and just IM that to you? I don't know if I could put that directly into the chat or not.
Sure, you can IM it to me. I can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So that way it goes to everybody there. But this will bring you to the list of majors, minors, and certificate programs at UCF. But if you click on your major, that will give you an overview of the courses that are required for the Gen Ed program, the courses that are required for your common program prerequisites, your basic core level requirements, your advanced core level, restricted electives, and so on. But just like the Pegasus path, this is a tool. It does not replace advising. If anything, it should help give you some insight on some potentials that you might need to pursue as you're moving forward.
And I'll mention that when you're looking at the GEP sheet, every student at a state university is required to complete the general education program courses. Now, you'll look on there and you'll see, wow, I have a ton of options for GEP 5. I have a ton of options for GEP 6. But there are certain courses that you need to take for your major, that you want to take for your major, because maybe you can double dip. I'll use nursing as an example. One of our nursing prerequisite requirements is general psychology, which also happens to be GEP 9. Now in GEP 9, you have a couple of choices, but why would you take something other than general psychology in GEP 9 if you could take GEP 9 and it will also count as a prereq? So every college is going to have specific. We only have 3 GEPs that we prefer. You know, some are required, English 1, English 2 required, but we only have 3 that we suggest students take. Some colleges have more. Some colleges don't have any wiggle room, and they're like, you have to take this for all 12 GEPs. So what you should do is use the catalog, because the catalog is going to list out your science foundation courses, your history and cultural foundations, your mathematical foundations, your I think I listed, there's 5 foundations. And then they're also going to list your GEP course, or your Gordon Rule writing, your Gordon Rule math, depending on what year you came, civic literacy requirement. There's a ton of different nuances about what course you should be taking. And we could go into a lot longer conversation, a lot longer live stream regarding all the differences in courses and what they mean and how you do all this stuff. And the easiest way is to honestly just meet with an advisor, and it'll take us 5 minutes to explain it in a non-convoluted way. You know, here's what you should take because this is why. Boom, 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 boom. But if you try to do it yourself and you do that self-peer advising, it's going to turn out bad, and you're going to end up taking classes you don't need. You're going to end up probably taking a class that's not even at UCF. You're going to end up, it's just a mess. I've seen bad things. So just go to an advisor. And we'll help you. But you can use those tools, like Dylan said. They're not foolproof. You know, just because you have the undergraduate catalog doesn't mean you're taking the course that you know. Just because you access your Pegasus path once doesn't mean you know exactly what to do. So use those as tools, but ultimately consult an academic advisor.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucas. So I'll put this question up here from Katie. So if a student has to switch to, I'm guessing, a non-credit class, does the professor have to approve it? So if one of you would like to address that.
I could definitely touch on this because from my experience as a first-year advisor. So for NC grading, it's a very specific policy in that it only applies to actually key classes. English 1, English 2 are two of those. Some of the specific chemistry classes it applies to, in addition to some of the specific math classes, but that's generally it. But for the most part, the NC grading, there's a university policy, the way that I put it, and then there's the professor policy. So the university policy states, the official university policy states that if a student is in a course where an NC grade is an option, the student must have either between a D-, a D, or a D+ for that grade to turn into an NC. So that means, as far as the official university policy is concerned, that a grade of an F could still apply. A grade of a C- and above could still apply, and so on. But every instructor will adapt that policy, if the course allows for NC, that is, will adapt that policy based on how they see fit. Some instructors may state that, okay, well, if you attempt every single exam, but you don't get that D-, D, or D+ in the class, you happen to get an F, we could probably still get you an NC. Or if you happen to meet certain requirements, or if you get to so much on the final, whatever it might be. So talk with your professor to find out how they enact that policy. You can also find that information typically in their syllabus, but talk with your professor. That is the key thing. So the professor is really the one that does approve it in the way, but they approve it outside of the university policy in the way that they see fit. So if there's anything I could recommend, that talk with the professor.
And my suggestion to add on to Dylan would be to review the syllabus. That's your written contract for the class. The professor is required to provide a syllabus. They're required to provide certain information in that syllabus. That's their contract with you. On day one, I always advise students, read that syllabus. What's the grade scale in this course? What percentage of my grade is going towards this, and this? It'll clearly state in there if the professor is accepting NCs, what NC policy is, what's required for students to get an NC and go forward. So I would always recommend review the syllabus.
Thank you. Great advice on that. Always read the syllabus. There's a lot of good info in there. So this is kind of a long question, and it's kind of specific, so I'm not sure if we can answer it. Sorry, Dylan, I'm covering up your photo for just a moment.
Oh, that's good.
But their freshman student received the SAP warning. Student spoke with financial aid, was told it was an error due to income credit with dual enrollment. Is this the correct process to follow, filing a SAP appeal? Can either of you speak on this?
Yeah, I can do it. I deal with this directly because I deal with a lot of the SAP appeals. What we essentially get is we get from the Office of Student Financial Assistance, we get every semester a SAP warn list and a SAP fail list. What we then do as academic advisors is we just reach out to those students and say, hey, financial aid has said you're on a SAP warn list. Sometimes there is an error. It goes by credits, it goes by GPA. So if there is an error like that, if there's a SAP appeal that needs to be completed, essentially what you're laying out is, what am I doing to stay on track to get back into good standing with satisfactory academic progress? If your student has not heard back from the advisor, I would circle back with that advisor, or I would start making some calls. I know that I am the only advisor that deals with SAP in our office, just to avoid 9 different people doing it. I don't know how other colleges are working, if they have multiple advisors doing SAP, but I would reach back out and see where that SAP process is, because what we're essentially doing is we're filling out the remainder of that student's schedule to get them back on track. Sometimes it's the 70% rule, sometimes it's the GPA.
Now, yeah, so I will add to this because Susie's question was pointed out for students who have incoming credit. So more than likely they're a freshman. Nope, it says right there, freshman, receive that SAP warning. I've actually encountered this once before for a student who came in with, let's say, a lower GPA from their dual enrollment, but they're starting fresh here at UCF. So because you're considered first time in college, even though you've done dual enrollment previously, you're still considered first time in college by starting off as a freshman here at UCF. So financial aid does say that is an error. So they will work with you as far as getting that taken care of. So they do see that on the back end. I don't think there's anything real specific you'd have to do, but still just make sure to follow with financial aid and speak to your academic advisor. just to make sure that everything's good on the advising end, that there's nothing being put on by the office. Because as Lucas pointed out, the colleges tend to do things a little bit differently depending on the college. Just so make sure to connect with your academic advisor. Yep. So, oh yeah, then yeah, if it's an error that they listen that, they'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have to worry about much of anything. There's not any actual SAP process that you would have to go through. Just make sure to continue following up financial aid. I actually encountered that. I think it was during the summer or this past spring. It was kind of weird. I've never seen that before. So I'm wondering if there's a new process that they have that's causing some of these issues.
Could be. Something else to add, Lucas?
I also serve on the scholarship committee as well, where we look at those reviews too. So you just want to make sure, because they will yank your financial aid. What SAP is doing, if you end up on the fail list, you're essentially ineligible for financial aid. So you do want to make sure that you're taking care of that. But if it is a glitch on financial aid, then they will definitely find that and hopefully rectify that issue. But working with the academic advisor, I don't know if they still need an appeal. I don't know if the appeal needs to be submitted or.
No, in my case, the student didn't need to do that. And when they reached back out to me after they talked to financial aid basically told them that because it was an error, that their actual information was correct, that they were good to go. That is just a matter of waiting things out. But as we all know, because that's said, there could be kinks in the system. So it's always up to the student, no matter what it is, whether it's financial aid, whether it's holds, anything academics outside of that, it is up to you, the student. You are now a functioning adult in society. So it's going to be on your shoes, of course, to take those steps. But we are more than here to help, though.
For sure.
I'll just add one more thing, Hayden, before we leave. Sorry. I know that SAP has an email address. So if you go on the financial aid website, they have an email address that directly deals with SAP. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I know it's posted on the Student Financial Assistance website. I want to say it's like S&P, it's something weird. I could.
Let me see if I can find it really quick. I'm picturing at the top of my head, but I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, me neither. I'm on live Zoom, and the last thing I want is. But I do know they have a specific email address, and the young lady that works in financial assistance at SAP, her name is Jamie Bush, JAMIE .BUSH. She's deals directly with SAP. I believe she's an assistant director over in financial assistance. I know she's the one who sends the colleges and sends us these students are on warn, these students are on fail.
Perfect.
See. I'm not quite finding it at the moment, but yes, that's who I would reach out to directly.
Yeah, Jamie Bush. Hope that helps.
Yeah, it sounds like. Thanks, Susie, for that question. Hopefully that helps, and definitely take the advice here given. So we are no more questions. Looks like we're at the end of our time. If either of you have anything else to add or any piece of advice or wisdom that you want to share now, I really loved the advice on the Outlook app. I think that's great to keep you on top of your email and all of those reminders. But anything else either of you would like to add before we close out today?
I just think it's a trying time for all of us. Be patient with it. It's hard for us. I know it's hard for all of you. I know there's a lot of parents on here as well. We're trying, we're doing this remote. We're doing this with limited staff in our office. We've had staff workers, either their families infected or in some way this is impacting all of us. So I just ask on behalf of all of the college in the academic advising tree, our world, just be patient with us. We know that students have high anxiety and parents have high anxiety on top of that. We're trying to work as hard as we can to meet with all of these students. And our ultimate goal is to focus on the students and the well-being of the students. And from all of us advising, or all of our colleges and KMETC included, we're willing to work with you. We're happy to work with you. We're overjoyed to work with you. But just we ask that you be a little bit patient with us in these times.
And I'll echo that as well. So definitely being patient is a key thing. But at the same time, if you have issues, if you have questions, if you have concerns, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to come talk to us. Don't hesitate to reach out to your academic advisor directly, to your advising office, your college advising office, the departmental advising office, whatever it may be. Don't hesitate. So if anything, be patient. Don't hesitate. We're here for you, whether in person or remotely.
Great advice. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate all the insight you offered. So we will close it out here. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right.